Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Savita Sharma from University of Delhi. Today we are going to discuss about the module Transmission Electron Microscopy or TEM from the paper Thin Film Science and Technology. After studying this module, you should be able to understand transmission electron microscopy, that is the introduction in detail and the working principle. Then next what you are going to learn is the schematic and the each component of the TEM starting from the electron source till the sample. Next we'll study in detail about the sample preparation for the TEM analysis. Then we'll study the chemical analysis by EDS, and in the end we'll see the limitations of the TEM and what are the modifications that can be done to the transmission electron microscopy. Now to begin with, let us have a brief introduction about transmission electron microscopy. The use of optical microscope limited the ability to resolve an object because of its wavelength. TEM stands for transmission electron microscopy, that was a technique developed to obtain magnification and hence details of the specimen to a much better level than the conventional optical microscopes. In TEM, a beam of electrons is passed through an ultra-thin specimen interacting with the specimen as it passes through. When electrons are accelerated up to high energy levels, that is few hundreds of kiloelectron volt, and focused on a material, they can scatter or backscatter elastically or inelastically to produce many interactions, sources of different signals such as X-rays, Auger electrons or light. Some of them are used in transmission electron microscopy, that is TEM. An image is formed from the interaction of the electrons transmitted through the specimen. The image is magnified and focused onto an imaging device such as fluorescent screen on a layer of photographic film or to be detected by a sensor such as a CCD camera. The first TEM was built by Max Roll and Ernst Ruska in 1931, with this group developing the first TEM with resolution power greater than that of light in 1933 and the first commercial TEM in 1939. The development of TEM took into consideration the quantum mechanical behavior of electron. The interaction of electron with the material was obtained due to the inherent nature of electron, which is a quantum mechanical object. Since the electrons have both wave and particle nature, and the de Broglie wavelength of electrons are significantly smaller than that of light, and so they have higher resolution capability. This enables the instrument's user to examine fine detail, even as small as a single column of atoms, which is tens of thousands times smaller than the smallest resolvable object in a light microscope. TEM forms a major analysis method in a range of scientific fields in both physical and biological sciences. TEM find application in cancer research, virology, material science as well as pollution, nanotechnology and semiconductor research. Let us now study the working principle of TEM. TEM works like a slide projector. A projector shines a beam of light which transmits through the slide. The patterns painted on the slide only allow certain parts of the light beam to pass through. Thus, the transmitted beam replicates the patterns on the slide, forming an enlarged image of the slide when falling on the screen. TEMs work the same way except that they shine a beam of electrons like the light in a slide projector through the specimen like the slide. However, in TEM, the transmission of electron beam is highly dependent on the properties of material being examined. Such properties include density, composition, etc. For example, porous material will allow more electrons to pass through, while dense material will allow less. As a result, the specimen with a non-uniform density can be examined by this technique. Whatever part is transmitted is projected onto a phosphor screen for the user to see. Here you can see the two figures. The first figure shows the TEM schematic diagram showing the various parts of the TEM, that is a transmission electron microscope, starting from electron source to condenser lens, then the condenser aperture, then the sample, then the objective lens, objective aperture, projector lens, and finally the screen. We are going to study each component of this schematic TEM in the next slides. The next figure shows the electron source, which is the gun. It shows the schematic and the detailed diagram of the electron source, showing the filament, the electron beam, the space charge which is being created, then the negative potential Rennet cap, and the anode plate, which is a positive potential. Now let us study the components of TEM in detail. The first one is the electron source or gun. The first and basic part of the transmission electron microscope is the source of electrons. It is usually a V-shaped filament made of LaB6 or tungsten that is wreathed with Renelt electrode or the Renelt cap. Due to negative potential of the electrode, the electrons are emitted from a small area of the filament, which is a point source. A point source is important because it emits monochromatic electrons with similar energy. In this, a positive electrical potential is applied to the anode and the filament, which is a cathode, is heated until a stream of electrons is produced. The electrons are accelerated by the positive potential down the column, and because of the negative potential of cap, all electrons are repelled towards the optic axis. A collection of electrons occurs in the space between the filament tip and the cap, which is called as a space charge. Those electrons at the bottom of the space charge nearest to the anode can exit the gun area through the small meaning less than 1 mm hole in the Renelt cap and then move down the column to be later used in imaging. The next one is the condenser lens. The stream of the electron from the electron gun is then focused to a small, thin, coherent beam by the use of condenser lenses. The first lens determines the spot size, the general size range of the final spot that strikes the sample. The second lens actually changes the size of the spot onto the sample. The next component is the condenser aperture. A condenser aperture is a thin disc or strip of metal with a small circular through hole. It is used to restrict the electron beams and filter out unwanted scattered electrons before image formation. First part is the sample. The beam from the condenser aperture strikes the sample and the electron-sample interaction takes place in three different ways. The first way is the unscattered electrons, which are called as a transmitted beam. Second is the elastically scattered electrons, that is a diffracted beam. And the third is the inelastically scattered electrons. The next component is the objective lens. The main function of the objective lens is to focus the transmitted electron from the sample onto an image. The next is the objective aperture. Objective aperture enhances the contrast by blocking out high-angle diffracted electrons. Selected aperture Selected aperture enables the user to examine the periodic diffraction of electron by ordered arrangement of atoms in the sample. The next is the projector lens. The projector lens are used to expand the beam onto the phosphor screen. Then there is a screen. Imaging systems in a TEM consist of a phosphor screen which may be made of fine 10 to 100 micrometer particulate zinc sulfide for direct observation by the operator. The last one is the image pattern. The image strikes the phosphor screen and light is generated, allowing the users to see the image. The darker areas of the image represent those areas of the sample that favor electrons are transmitted. The lighter areas of the image represent those areas of the sample that more electrons were transmitted. Now let us study about the sample preparation for the TEM analysis. The TEM sample should be thin due to the absorption of the electron in the material, so special care must be taken while cutting a thin slice of the metal so that the specimen is not deformed during its preparation. This is because plastic deformation can introduce unwanted structural defects in the microstructure that are visible in TEM images. Various techniques are: the first one is the spark cutter. In this, electric discharge between the wire and the specimen are used to cut the metal by removing small particles of metal from the surface of the specimen. The second part is the focused ion beam or FIB. A thin slice of the sample was cut by an ion beam on a scanning ion microscope. The main advantage of this method is that it allows for selective thinning at desired locations by cutting trenches in the sample. Now let us study the TEM sample preparation of AMCs. The figure given here shows the entire process step by step for the sample preparation of AMCs. For AMCs, the following mechanical method is used. TEM foil specimens are prepared by mechanical dimpling down to 20 micrometer, followed by argon ion milling on a Gatton duo mill machine operating at an accelerating voltage of 5 kV and 10 degree incidence angle with a liquid nitrogen cooling stage to avoid sample heating and microstructural changes associated with the annealing effect. Such effects are generally experienced on first samples prepared on an ion mill without cooling stage, that is the PIPS or PIPS, resulting in an unexpected and substantial coarsening of the precipitation state. The steps in the TEM sample preparation are: first is the sample cutting, second is the mechanical grinding and polishing, the third is the dimple grinding, and final one is the ion milling. These are the schematic for the TEM sample preparation for AMCs. Chemical analysis by EDS. The first step in phase identification before the analysis of the diffraction patterns is a chemical analysis that can be done in a TEM microscope by X-rays, energy dispersive spectrometry (EDS), or electron energy loss spectrometry (EELS). In addition to many advantages, such as the possibility of obtaining information on the chemical bonding and its good spatial resolution, EELS is particularly appropriated for light elements, that is, atomic number less than the atomic number of aluminium. But the identification of the chemical elements and the interpretation of the spectra are not as straightforward as in EDS, which remains a quick method for identifying and quantifying the elements due to a user-friendly software. Inelastic interactions between electrons and matter give different kinds of signals: secondary electrons, Auger electrons, X-rays, light, and lattice vibrations. The X-ray energy corresponds to a difference between two energy levels of the electron cloud of an atom. Since these levels are quantified, the X-ray energy spectrum represents the signature of the atom. The X-rays are detected by a semiconductor and processed by a detector protected by a ultra-thin window and cooled at liquid nitrogen temperature to avoid the thermal noise and the diffusion of the dopant in the semiconductor. An EDS spectrum is constituted by a background produced by the Bremsstrahlung X-rays and by peaks characteristic to the chemical elements of the material. So this is how we can do the chemical analysis by the EDS. Now let us study the limitations of the TEM. There are a number of drawbacks to the TEM technique. Many materials require extensive sample preparation to produce a sample thin enough to be electron transparent, which makes TEM analysis a relatively time-consuming process with a low throughput of samples. The structure of the sample may also be changed during the preparation process. Also, the field of view is relatively small, raising the possibility that the region analyzed may not be the characteristic of the whole sample. There is potential that the sample may be damaged by the electron beam, particularly in the case of biological materials. Resolution limits. The limit of resolution obtainable in a TEM may be described in several ways and is typically referred to as the information limit of the microscope. One commonly used value is the cutoff value of the contrast transfer function, a function that is usually quoted in the frequency domain to define the reproduction of spatial frequencies of objects in the object plane by the microscope optics. A cutoff frequency Qmax for the transfer function may be approximated with the following equation, where Cs is the spherical aberration coefficient and lambda is the electron wavelength. So Qmax is equals to 1 divided by 0.67 multiplied by Cs into lambda to the power 3 whole to the power 1 by 4. For a 200 kilovolt microscope with partly corrected spherical aberrations, that is to the third order, and a Cs value of 1 micrometer, a theoretical cutoff value might be 1 upon Qmax is equals to 42 pm. The same microscope without a corrector would have Cs is equals to 0.5 mm and thus a 200 pm cutoff. Practically, the spherical aberrations are suppressed in the best aberration corrected microscopes. Their resolution is however limited by electron source geometry and brightness and chromatic aberrations in the objective lens system. Intriguingly, the frequency domain representation of the contrast transfer function may often have an oscillatory nature, which can be tuned by adjusting the focal value of the objective lens. This oscillatory nature implies that some spatial frequencies are faithfully imaged by the microscope, while others are suppressed. By combining multiple images with different spatial frequencies, the use of techniques such as focal series reconstruction can be used to improve the resolution of the TEM in a limited manner. The contrast transfer function can to some extent be experimentally approximated through techniques such as Fourier transforming images of amorphous material such as amorphous carbon. More recently, Advances in aberration collector design have been able to reduce spherical aberrations and to achieve resolution below zero point 0.5 angstroms at magnifications above 50 million times. Improved resolution allows for the imaging of lighter atoms that scatter electrons less efficiently, such as lithium atoms in lithium batteries materials. The ability to determine the position of atoms within the material has made the HRTEM an indispensable tool for nanotechnology research and development in many fields, including heterogeneous catalysis and the development of semiconductor devices for electronics and photonics. Now let us discuss the various modifications that can be done to the TEM apparatus. The capabilities of the TEM can be further extended by additional stages and detectors, sometimes incorporated on the same microscope. An electron cryomicroscope, that is the cryo-TEM, is a TEM with a specimen holder capable of maintaining the specimen at liquid nitrogen or liquid helium temperatures. This allows imaging specimens prepared in vitreous ice, the preferred preparation technique for imaging individual molecules or macromolecular assemblies. A TEM can be modified into a scanning transmission electron microscope, that is STEM, by the addition of a system that rasters the beam across the sample to form the image, combined with suitable detectors. Scanning coils are used to deflect the beam, such as by an electrostatic shift of the beam, where the beam is then collected using a current detector such as a Faraday cup, which acts as a direct electron counter. By correlating the electron count to the position of the scanning beam, known as the probe, the transmitted component of the beam may be measured. The non-transmitted components may be obtained either by beam tilting or by the use of annular dark field detectors. In situ experiments may also be conducted with experiments such as in situ reactions or material deformation testing. Modern research TEMs may include aberration correctors to reduce the amount of distortion in the image. Incident beam monochromators may also be used, which reduce the energy spread of the incident electron beam to less than 0.15 electron volt. Major TEM makers include JEOL, Hitachi High Technology, FEI Company, Carl Zeiss, and Neon. Low Voltage Electron Microscope or LVEM. The Low Voltage Electron Microscope is a combination of SEM, TEM, and STM in one instrument, which is operated at relatively low electron accelerating voltage of 5 kilovolts. Low voltage increases image contrast, which is especially important for biological specimens. This increase in contrast significantly reduces or even eliminates the need to stain. Sectioned samples generally need to be thinner than they would be for conventional TEM, that is from 20 to 65 nanometer. Resolutions of a few nanometer are possible in TEM, SEM, and STEM modes. Now let us conclude about what we have studied in TEM. TEM has been used for several purposes in several fields and offers many distinct advantages in comparison to SEM and older optical methods that has been discussed earlier. However, there are many disadvantages and scope of improvement in TEM. Many materials require extensive sample preparation to produce a small, thin enough to be electron transparent, which makes TEM analysis a relatively time-consuming process with a low through output of samples. The structure of the sample may also be changed during the preparation process. Also, the field of view is relatively small raising the possibility that the region analyzed may not be characteristic of the whole sample. There is potential that the sample may be damaged by the electron beam, particularly in the case of biological materials. TEM is, however, a significant achievement of quantum mechanical understanding of electron. It was a major step in magnification studies and obtaining better resolution than optical microscopes, and hence is a very important building block in study of application of quantum mechanics. Moreover, it is very commonly used in studies of material structures and properties and for other experimental purposes. So students, let us summarize what we have learned in this module. First of all, we learned about the working principle of transmission electron microscopy. What is a transmission electron microscopy and on what principle does it works? Secondly, we saw the schematic diagram of the TEM and we studied in detail each component of the TEM microscope. Next, we studied about the sample preparation for the TEM analysis. Then we saw the chemical analysis by EDS. In the end, we saw the limitations of the TEM and the required modifications that can be done till date in the TEM microscopy. Thank you.